All right. I seen some. Where was it? Power versus force. That should be an interesting. Fly girls. I wonder what they're talking about right there. Look at this. Look at this. Why America loses wars. Limited war and U.S. strategy from the Korean War to the present. That should be interesting. Because, we love to say we're the strongest country in the world, but he's kind of right. We don't really win wars. When the ATMs go dark, that should be an interesting one. The American Jubilee, a national nightmare, is closer than you think. Oh, really? Look at that. The police. Well, we already know that. What is this about? Interview with a resident investor. What is this book about? The crowds with cheers and applause and promise new and better prosperity, but what will actually happen is a national nightmare. Americans are suffering from overwhelming student loan, auto, and credit card debts. Meanwhile, wages have remained stagnant or fallen compared with inflation. Low-income households don't have the funds to service the money they owe, and politicians would never allow tens of millions of the poor citizens to go bankrupt. Well, wow. He basically sitting there, look at this. The only way out is violent financial revolution. We're already seeing the uprisings underway, riots, protests, all Black Lives Matter movements. Now we can even talk about, I can't say there's not really white lives matter, but we'll say the far right matters by trying to take over the Capitol building. As in any crisis, the wealthy will make a fortune, but for many, it will mean huge losses. That is kind of funny because we're looking at coronavirus and the rich have gotten richer while the poor, guess what, have gotten poorer. The Jubilee is coming. This is not in the book I wanted to look at, but it got me. Stansberry Research. I think we've heard of these people before. What is American Debt Jubilee? A major jubilee is coming. Corruption of politics, corruption of debt, corruption of currency. Okay, how to survive. Off limits, what you must avoid. 9 most important things I'm doing to prepare for a crisis in America. How to profit and what to avoid. Okay, yeah, there we go. Yep, how do we make money? 107. Oh, this is I was about to use some colorful words. This is a stock book, dude. I had no idea this is a stock book. I thought it was, look at this. This is nothing but stocks. I don't know about y'all. Would you guys ever? This cover does not say stock market to me. This like really looks like a police book. I would have never guessed. This is about stock money and or stock market and money. We're at 107, right, guys? So it really, like, that goes to show you, man. I even own a library bigger than most. And don't judge a book by its cover, because I would eventually got to this maybe 10, 20 years down the line, because I thought it was more of like a war book, right? Like this does not scream financial independence at all, right? This is the last thing I thought it was about. But you pick it up and you start looking at things and you start reading between the lines and you're like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Okay. Everyone's always talking about taxes, so that's why I picked this one. Okay. This has nothing to do with stocks, bonds, or options, but it's in a market that's almost as big as the stock market. It's a perfect hedge. Okay, what is it? You see, the U.S. has managed and continues to manage its financials foolishly. As a result, our country's debt situation is worse than you can ever imagine. Yes? Look at that. entitlement and interest will take up all of the national debt by 2041. That's crazy. Comes from government, the Congressional Budget Office, based on it sees like in the scenario, and it doesn't include government expenses such as bills, lawmaking, military repairs of roads, and education. Add those in, and it clearly looks worse than the banana republics that have defaulted on debts in the past. If you believe what this person's saying, which, I mean, that's horrible. So he's saying in 20 years, the government's going to literally be broke and have absolutely nothing. So if you look at right here, what he's saying, we're not going to go in default. We're just printing our way out of it, which leads to hyperinflation, which is not a good thing. Well, what is the opportunity? Get to that part. There it goes. Real estate. That's what he's sitting there saying. The hedge is just basically buy land. If things go badly in America, if the dollar continues to weaken, if our politicians keep spending, if the national debt and taxes go up, housing will hold its value at the very least, and most likely will go up. Number one, mortgage rates hit their lowest levels in history in 2013, and they keep going down. I understand this, right? I really, truly do. The only problem that people aren't saying what happens when you buy a lot of real estate and money's cheap and they're printing money and it's all good and all that graviness and the world's gonna be fine as long as you invest in real estate. That's not always true. So yes, is it a great hedge? Probably. But that does not necessarily, if the whole entire world, if American economy crashes and it goes to oblivion, your real estate's not going to be worth anything either, right? So I understand inflation, the real cost of inflation, blah, 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 blah. But if you don't own your house and deflation comes, then what happens is right now, your loans are really, really cheap because money's cheap. But what happens if you get a very big loan and then, you know, eventually they're going to have to, this is expansion, they're going to have to contract at one point in time. And if they contract, then money gets really expensive. So if you've loaned a lot of things, and you have a lot of money out there and you're living this marvelous life, but it's all debt, when they contract the economy, then all your debt gets really expensive, right? So in situations like this, like what, because if you got to do your history, mind you, I don't want to go too far on a tangent. I don't know if I'm upside down or whatever, but a great kind of book to read or great kind of time to look at is look at what happened between World War I and World War II of the world in finance. A great book for this is The Lords of Finance. It talks about basically what he's talking about, because it happened to Germany. Just be very careful when you're buying real estate. Be very careful on getting a lot of debt if you don't have the way to get to pay your debt off. But I'm very interested to kind of go more deep into this book, kind of, understand where exactly he's coming from, right? Or see if there's, you guys like this picture better where I'm just talking to nothing, you're looking at the side of my face. But no, on a different note, back to where I was at, just be careful. And I'm very intrigued to write my little article and kind of dive deeper in what his thesis is. All right.